Mm. Hello, my Teaserking family. How's everybody on this Sunday, July 4th weekend? Hope you're all well. I am good. Just sending my gal a little picture. All right, so there's a little thing I want to show you here. It's called The Bank of Hitler. How Hitler's plan to wreck Britain's economy with fake money. We'll get into this in a little bit. It's about inflating, it's about printing money, but it's about dumping all this money on England to inflate the money to zero to make it all worthless. It didn't happen because they took the money instead and said, "Hell, we can use the money," and it was very good counterfeit. But it's the point of if you print a lot of money, it makes the money worthless, which people don't seem to get. So we're going to go and follow the Hitler plan, and it happened in France, and it's happening now. And MMT goes, "Oh, you can print as much money as you want," but that ain't the bottom line. So let's go into baseball first. No gold to talk about as the gold price doesn't work on Friday. So let's go through yesterday's games and then today's baseball. Houston over 7.5, 5 units, won. The Cubs over 8.5, lost. Pitt over 9.5, lost. Baltimore over 9 was like a softball game. They won. Cleveland over 8.5, won. Philly lost. Ranger Suarez, I don't know. He had a good run, and now he's not doing very well his last 3 outings. So this is where you got to stop looking at his ERA and look at his streak, and he's terrible. Just like Cutter Crawford today for Boston was good, not anymore. So there's pitchers that are decent, are really strong, and then go bad, and then there's pitchers that are bad and then get stronger, and you got to read into it. I know there was a pitcher, I can't remember which one, who started out like giving up 5 runs a game, and then he had a bunch of shutouts, but his ERA was like 4 or 3.5. But if you took the first 2 games out, his ERA was like 1. So that's what we got to look at. So LA over 8.5 loses. Kansas City loses somehow, and then San Diego over 7.5 wins. So we end up going 3, 4, and 5 on our picks. We break even on our 5 units. We win 2 and we lose 2, and we lose like 3 units. So not a great day, but it's baseball, so it wasn't a bad day, but it was a losing day, so it's never good. So that was yesterday's. Let's go into today. So we got a 1:35 start, Philadelphia, Atlanta. It's 11:18. It's plenty of time. Philly and Atlanta. Atlanta's a 175, 8.5. Michael Mercado, 1-0 with a 1.50. Probably a bullpen guy against Ronaldo Lopez, 6-2 with a 1.83 ERA for Atlanta. So he's the real deal. Mercado, yeah, he's nothing. He's only pitched 1 game. 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 run. Okay, so we don't have enough information here. Let's look at Lopez, just so we don't get Ranger Suarez. And those last 2 games, he's given up 2 runs after 2 shutouts, 5 inning, 6 inning, and then 5 inning gives up 2 runs. 4 innings, he gives up 2 runs to the 49ers. So his worst outing, he's given up 3 runs. So you're not going to get an over on this guy, and he's pretty good. Philly, Bryce Harper didn't play yesterday. Don't know if he's playing today. Until he's in the lineup, he ain't playing in my world. So do I want to play Atlanta or do I want to go under? Mercado, we don't know. Atlanta, this is not a game I want to go under on. These scores have been very high scoring. I'm going to take Atlanta, 3 units. I hate betting against Philly, but in this situation, I don't know who this pitcher is. He's pitched one game. And I really don't know who Lopez is, but he's pitched 10, 11 games. He's 6-2. So I'm gonna think Atlanta wins with this pitcher who is not like Ranger Suarez, who's pitching, giving up 5, 6 runs a game. After that, St. Louis and Washington. Washington won big. St. Louis won the first one. St. Louis minus 115.9. Kyle Gibson, 6-3 with a 3.88 against DJ Hertz, 1-2 with the 4.67. I'm going over on this game. Wash over 9. And we'll do that for 3 units. Only because they've been scoring with 7-6 and it was like 13-5 or something. So they're both teams are hitting. Neither pitcher is going to stop the hitting. So let's go kind of with the streak that their hitting's coming on now. So we don't really want to look at the averages. We just see that they're starting to hit, which is the point of the average. It's an average, but in the last few, we're doing better. So let's go over. The Mets in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I think, killed them yesterday. Sean Manaea for the Mets, 5-3, 3.67. Luis Ortiz, 4-2, 3.27. Over under a 9. I don't know who these pitchers are. Over under 9. You would think over 9. The Mets have been hitting good. Let's go Mets over, but I'm not going to bet it. Just to see how I would have done. 49ers in Cleveland. The 49ers have won the first 2 games. Cleveland 135 and over under 9. Otis Birdsong 1-0 with the 4.66 for the Niners. Carlos Carrasco 3-6 with the 5.21. This looks like an over. 2 bad pitchers. Again, we're getting a lot of 9s today. This is the 3rd 9 in a row. A lot of times you get 7, 7.5. Now it's 9s. Detroit at Cincy, we got Tarek Skubal, their ace, against Graham Ashcraft, 5-4 with the 5.45. But if we look at Skubal's last few games, he's given up 4 runs, 5 runs, 0, and 3 runs. And he's only pitched 7 innings once. That was against Philly when he 3 hit him. Otherwise, he didn't. 7 hits against Atlanta, 6 hits at Houston, 4 hits at Minnie, and 3 runs. And they lost all 3. So on the road, he's not as good. So I don't know that I want to mess with this guy to win. The question. See, so now I'm not buying the ERA because 3 of the last 4 games, his ERA is much higher because you're talking in 6 innings, right? So he's given up 3 runs in 6 innings, not 9. So it's not like he's got a 3 ERA. He's got like a 5 ERA. So his ERA is much higher. Graham Ashcroft, Detroit. I don't know what they're doing. Parker Meadows has got up to 100. And there's like 3 guys. There's 2 guys hitting like 100 and one hitting like 180. How they bring these guys up, they're almost like clueless, the organization. If the guy's not hitting 300 in the minors, you're not bringing him up. So you got a shortstop hitting 100. You got this Parker Meadows guy hitting 100, and you got this other guy hitting like 180. And then you still got 2 of your regulars hitting like 210. How do you win games with 5 guys that can't hit? How are 5 guys that can't hit in the major leagues? And that's their first baseman, Torkelson, still in the minor leagues, hitting 250 in the minor leagues. Big mistake on him. Obviously, the scouts don't know what they're doing because they This was the number one pick in the draft, Spencer Torkelson, and he sucks. How do you make this guy the number one pick? I mean, the number one pick's got to be Mickey Mantle, not a guy you can't hit 200. So anyway, not really good. This game probably goes over, but I'm not going to bet it because it's Detroit. And you never know what to get there. We didn't play the game yesterday because it ended up being a reliever, but we didn't even know who it was. And so it was a bullpen day, and they won 5-4. We'll leave this game alone. It's so hard to listen to their game on the radio, and the announcers are so bad. That was a 92-mile-an-hour curveball. Like, yeah, really? You knew that? Okay, sure you did. Okay, right. The White Sox in Miami should be an under game. We got Miami minus 145.8. Jonathan Cannon 1-2 with the 4.62, and Edward Cabrera 1-2 with the 7.17. So what do we do? Two terrible pitchers. Who won yesterday? We don't know who won yesterday. We didn't play it. I got to go over with this Miami over 8 with these pitchers, but we'll play it for 2 units. It's not like, well, we don't really want to play it, but we kind of have to, so we'll make it a 2-unit play. Houston, Minnesota, Spencer Spaghetti, 4-7 with the 6.13 against Simeon Richardson, 3-1 with the 3.52, and I love the over here. Houston, over 9, 5 units. So far, the first 2 games have been like 15, 16-run games. I don't see any difference here. Spaghetti gives it's 4-7 with the 6.13. Minnesota will hit the hell out of them. And then Houston, you're not stopping. Altuve's on fire. Bregman's on fire. So look for that. This over 9's a joke. Should be like 11 or 12. California and the Cubbies. California's been winning this one. Jose Soriano, 4-6 with the 3.77. Hayden Wisniewski, 2-5 with the 4.14. Good luck with that. I have no comment. Tampa Bay, Texas. Texas 135, 7.5. Zach Littell, 3-5 with a 3.94. Nathan Eovaldi, 5-3 with a 3.15. I like the under, but it's only 7.5. It's too low. I think Texas wins. I'm going to put Texas down, but I'm not going to bet it. I do like Eovaldi. Kansas City, Colorado. Colorado, the ace for KC goes, and then they didn't bat yesterday. It was like a 2-1, 3-1 game. Colorado won. Very low scoring with the 10.5 earned run average or over. But where was KC's bats? Brady Singer, who was the ace, is now not the ace. He's 4-5 with a 3.05. Tanner Gordon 0-0 with an 0.00. Who the fuck is this guy? They don't even have a pitcher. How many guys are you drafting out of Indiana? Really? The guy goes to Indiana, no stats available, no nothing. Wow, where's this guy come from? Against Brady Singer. I'm going to take KC here, 3 units. I don't know. I like KC, but they're not. They're having trouble in Colorado. But I can't go. I don't know what to do with this Colorado pitcher. He doesn't even have his pitcher up. Baltimore and Oakland. I've been playing this series over. Baltimore, pretty high scoring. Or actually, I think I won it. What did I do? Yeah, I won over 9 yesterday. Oakland put up 17 points. They got a couple of touchdowns. Baltimore minus 185.8. Grayson Rodriguez 10-3 with the 3.45 for Baltimore. Mid Spence 5-4 with the 4.15. I guess we got to go Baltimore here. 3 units. Just the better pitching and a good lineup. Better team all over. So, but see, you can't look at the record and think you're going to win based on the record. As we know, it's the pitcher, right? So here's Baltimore 56-33, Oakland 34-57. Well, who won yesterday? Oakland. I like it. I like 2 touchdowns. So you can't really look at it like that. Baltimore should score a lot today, and they should win. But the record has nothing to do with how good or bad a team is. It's up to the pitcher that day. If it's Verlander, I don't care what Houston's doing. I'm going to bet on Verlander or Scherzer or these guys. Toronto, Seattle minus 155, 7.5. Jose Berrios, 8-6 with the 3.63 against George Kirby, 7-6 with the 3.32 for Seattle. Probably an under game. Yeah, let's go under Seattle, under 7.5. And we'll go 3 units on that one. Milwaukee and the Dodgers, I thought would be more scoring yesterday. It didn't go more scoring. I lost on the over. I had over 8.5. They got about 6 or 7, which was surprising. But the Dodger bullpen had 4 guys, and none of them had a 2 ERA. So what do I got as my Dodger bullpen? 302. Well, it's more like a 202 from what I saw in the box score. Dallas Keuchel 6.75 against Justin Robleski. 0-0 with an 0-0 again. Dallas Keuchel's not pitching well. The Dodgers, let's go LA, but I'm not going to bet it because I don't know who the hell I got pitching. Arizona, San Diego. Now, this 2 high-scoring teams. San Diego 160 and an 8. Ryan Nelson 5-6, 5.42. Dylan C 7-7 with the 4.24. We're going over on this game. San Diego over 8, and this will be 5 unit. This will be one of the bigger bets. And the Red Sox Yankees. I was watching the game at the gym, and it was 3-3, and then a home run, and the Yankee pitcher, the guy who was coming back, I can't think of his name. And he threw a fastball right down the middle. The guy hit a home run. It's 4-3. I go swim. I come out. It's 14-4, the Yankees. So the Yankees 135, 8.5. Cutter Crawford, who was good and now is not, 4-7 with the 3.47. Louis Gill 9-4 with the 3.41. We're taking the game over 8.5, and we'll go 5 units. They're both hitting. Let me say hi to Daria. Just 1 second. Just a second. All right, so let's review. Atlanta, 3 units. And Atlanta, 3 units. Washington over 9, 3 units. The Mets over 9, but we're not playing it. Cleveland over 9, 3 units. Miami over 8, but we don't trust Miami in an over, so just 2 units. Houston over 9, 5 units. Kansas City, we're facing a guy 0-0-0. Baltimore 3 units. Seattle under 7.5, 3 units. San Diego over 6. That can't over 8. 5 units, and the Yankees over 8.5, 5 units. So those are your baseball bets today. I mean, I love the Yankees over 8.5 if you're looking for that night game. And then during the day, I'd say Houston, Minnesota. I mean, I would just focus on those two. Houston, Minnesota has been 15, 16 runs a game with those two. So look for that. And you got to look within the game, right? We have Altuve hitting. Bregman's went from 200 to 260. He's on fire. The Mets, Lindor's starting to hit. So these guys go in streaks. So you're trying to look at it. And that's really what you play is the streaks. That's the most important thing about betting. Teams get hot, teams get cold. Kansas City in football, they lost to Oakland. They lost a couple of games, and then they get mad. And then that's why I like teams off of a loss. They get upset. Then they get on a winning streak, and you just ride them with it. And that's what you look for. And you look for that in every sport. I don't look at basketball too much, but the same thing. They get on a streak. Football, I think you have a little bit different. I mean, you want a quarterback who's hot, but it's who they play and, injuries. A little bit more on football. You run into a tough defense, you're fucked, right? You know that. And so that's more the key. But baseball, I think, is more of streaks, just like blackjack and craps and backracker streaks. When you play poker, it's not streaks. So you get pocket aces and you hit a full house. You might play the next hand, but if you get 2-7, you probably shouldn't. You got to stick to no, this is not a hand I play. So not necessarily streaky as blackjack and craps and roulette and backrack are. Those are streak games. Baseball is kind of a streak game. Now, the Reds beat the Yankees 3 straight. And then here come the Tigers in town, and we bet the Reds the first game, and the Reds lose. How do you beat the Yankees 3 games straight in New York and lose to the Tigers? It's unbelievable. But that's what happens. So you do try to look at the streaks and go from there. All right. So that be baseball. Any questions, please let me know. I will update my stats probably tonight or tomorrow. Let's go to the college football week 1, and let's just review the lines. I like this better. All right. So I am in covers.com, and they give us a few different lines on the games. And let's go through it. So the 24th of August is 2 games. Still, Florida State laying 12.5, 13, and over under 54.5. Hasn't really moved. Florida State, great defense. We know the quarterback sucks. Uglia Buglia. Georgia Tech's a pretty good team. Good quarterback. Not so great defense. More of an over team. This should be interesting. I think Georgia Tech's a live dog in this game with the quarterback. And I don't think Florida State can score much in this game. So that's that. SMU, Nevada, SMU minus 23.5, 50, 55.5, 56.5, 57.5. Pick your poison. I guess if you're going over, you want 55.5. If you're going under, go to 57.5. Um, I have SMU as an A team and Nevada as a weak team based on last year's performance. SMU's quarterback's back. I think SMU will blow them away. Nevada had a 33 defense last year. SMU a 17. Usually SMU scores 40 a game, gives up 40. But in a rare instance here, they had a 17 defense, and once the system's in place, I think it's easier defense. Look at Nick Saban. He had that Steeler defense in, and he just always had a good defense because it was the system. So he just got certain type of players, and they ran in, and that was it. So that's what you have. Nevada doesn't have. They gave up 33 a game. You're facing an SMU team that's explosive. This is going to get ugly by halftime. So here we go in this game. Both teams have returning quarterbacks. So let's see what Nevada's quarterback is. So that's the 24th. Then let's get to the 29th. Minnesota, North Carolina. Minnesota, I got -1.5 and 50.5. That line hasn't moved. Both quarterbacks are new. I was reading Drake May probably won't even start for New England. Great draft pick. How do you draft the third pick in the drafts, a quarterback, and he gets beaten out by Jacoby Brissett? What is that? Like, that's good GM? You want to say how good he is? Drake May, terrible. And then in Minnesota, you got Darnold, who sucks, ahead of McCarthy. I mean, what kind of draft picks are these? You could have had Penix and Bo Nix guys who are 10 times better than the guys you drafted. You watch Penix when he gets out. Well, Cousins sucks, so we know that. And then we got Bo Nix probably starting at Denver. We'll find out. We're not sure yet as it gets closer. But that's where we're at. So anyway, you got two new quarterbacks. Minnesota doesn't have much of an offense. Over under 50.5, probably an under game. Well, it's hard because it's like baseball. You have terrible hitting but terrible pitching. So the pitching says go over, but the hitting says they won't score any runs. Well, I mean, North Carolina, Minnesota both have new quarterbacks, but both defenses are 27s. So I think Minnesota will have a little better defense this year. North Carolina never has a good defense. So it's hard to say. It's probably more of an over-under. Maybe you take North Carolina as a dog. Who's their quarterback? See, that's where you really got to understand it. That's what you're looking for. And maybe you don't bet at week one unless you find out more about the quarterback, which is why I read the Gray Sports Almanac. And here I get those answers of, the new quarterback's Jimmy Joe from, Maryland, and he's good, and he transferred in. But even that, you got to be careful of the transfers because it means they weren't good at their regular team. Why did Uglia transfer? Because he sucked, and the coach left. And the new coach wasn't probably going to start him. Why did Cam Ward go from Washington State to Miami? Same reason. He's not very good. He had a lot of yards at junior college where Herbert played. Anyway, nothing Division II or junior college. So he throws for all these yards, but at Washington State, he didn't really do that much. And he's kind of weak. And at Miami, he's not going to do anything. That was a terrible move, unless you got forced out. Washington State saying, we're not going to start you, which could be. He wasn't very good. Yes, I know he was good against Wisconsin, but after that. So, it's that's what you're looking for. So you got to be careful with the transfers. I think you should develop your own quarterback. The problem is keeping them. I think this whole system's screwed up. This NIL will not work. It's stupid. I can't see the colleges paying $1 million for a player, especially like Buglia. What, Florida State out of their minds? He's a backup at best, and you're giving him this money if it's real, which I'm not sure it's real. I don't know that they actually paid him, or they just said they did, or they're trying to make it look good. But I refuse to. Like, did Ohio State pay Will Howard $1 million to transfer from Kansas State? I don't know. I think they must have paid. I can't believe Oregon paid Dylan Gabriel to come there, and Oklahoma couldn't match it. So something's funny with the whole thing. That one I don't understand. I'm not happy that Dylan Gabriel. Well, he was from UCF to Oklahoma, but to leave Oklahoma for Oregon, I question that move. It looks worse than it is. All right. Colorado is playing North Dakota State. Colorado minus 8.5, 58.5. We know they're just a offensive team, no defense. North Dakota State, what are you going to do? I heard their coach is on a different, is gone. So they got a new coach. So I don't know what to do with that. I wouldn't play it. I don't see how you even played Colorado. All offense, no defense, and the guy just takes sacks instead of throwing interceptions. So not a big prime junior fan. Jacksonville State, Coastal Carolina. Jacksonville State 4, 59, 59.5. Based on last year, Coastal Carolina was an E team. Quarterback's back. Jacksonville State was an over team. They're running the Rich Rodriguez offense from West Virginia. Not much at Michigan. Not much at New Mexico or Arizona, wherever the hell he went. But it should do well here. They're an over team. He was there last year coaching. The defense was a 20 and Coastal Carolina is a 25. I think this is an over game because Coastal Carolina scores pretty good. And Jacksonville State with Rodriguez should score. You do have a new quarterback there. This is a little bit much. All right. And the 30th, we got Michigan State, 11.5, 48.5. We've got Oklahoma, 41.5 and 60. We've got Wisconsin, 24, 56.5 to Western Michigan. This will be interesting how Van Dyke does at Wisconsin. Are they going to be much better? They had a good quarterback last year, Mordecai from SMU. They didn't do shit. So let's see what Van Dyke can do. Hopefully they let him light it up. Very interesting here. And then TCU is, I can get a 7.5 at Caesars Sportsbook and 61. Stanford should stink again this year. TCU, look for TCU to bounce back from their great year 2 years ago, putting up 80 points on the Michigan defense. See, when Michigan played TCU, they gave up 50-some points, and then they had the schedule they had last year where they played nobody. So a good offensive mind will pick apart Michigan, and they get one in Fresno State week 1. Stanford stinks. Stanford's a Z team. Gives up 37 a game. I mean, now in the Pac-10, there was a lot of strong offense, but, UCLA gave up less than 20. Utah gave up less than 20. Arizona gave up 20. Oregon did not give up 20. So you had a lot of good defensive teams in the Pac-10, even though there was some good offenses. All right. Now we go to Saturday, October 31st. By the way, all my passwords are now in for Teaser King. So whenever you're ready to buy, you'll get the password. I just have to change the bowl. The bowl, if you want to buy the month, I just need to change that back to its normal, so you don't think you're buying bowls. Big game. Georgia, 13.5, 47.5. Really hasn't moved. Both returning quarterbacks. Georgia gave up 16 a game, and they fired their defensive coordinator. That's not acceptable. Clemson gave up 20. This game should be an under. Georgia, look for them to have strong defense. Look for Clemson to have a problem passing midfield. Definitely an underplay here. Virginia Tech, 13.5, 53.5 to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt with a new transfer quarterback. Virginia Tech's returning. Georgia Clemson, both quarterbacks are returning. Let me go through this. So Michigan State's got a new transfer, the kid from Oregon. Florida Atlantic, a new transfer. Temple, Oklahoma, both have new quarterbacks. Western Michigan, Wisconsin, we know Van Dyke for Wisconsin. Western's also got a transfer. And both the quarterbacks at TCU Stanford are returning. Maryland, 21, 48.5 to Connecticut. Well, that one jumped up from 45. Don't know why. Both quarterbacks are new. Kent and Pitt, 23.5, 54.5. Both quarterbacks are new. Penn State, West Virginia. Penn State, 10.5, 51.5. This over went up from 50. Both quarterbacks are good. Both are returning. Both are pretty good offensively. Penn State had an 11 defense. West Virginia, 28. But again, it was really weak. The Big Ten it was terrible last year. I mean, it was Michigan, who was okay. Ohio State sucked, and Penn State was decent. So an 11 defense, which I'm not buying. Revenge game. This game's at West Virginia. Enough said. Miami, 2.5, 55.5. A road, really a road favorite. Transfer quarter. Well, Ward, the quarterback from Washington State, is Miami's quarterback. Florida's is a returning one. The kid from Wisconsin. We will see. This is like the coach Napier came from Lou Lafayette, had 2 bad seasons. This is it. He has a bad season. They're out. Look for Florida to play better. I think they'll win this game. I can't believe they're the dog. We've seen the Miami coach. I can take a knee and just end the game. No, I'm going to hand it off and fumble. Yeah, much better strategy. The coaching is so bad, isn't it? All right. UTSA against Tennessee State. UTSA is 22-50 roughly. This is going down a little. Both have new quarterbacks. Frank Harris I don't think got drafted. Should be a good free agent for somebody. I mean, he's better than half the guys. Minnesota would do better with Frank Harris than with J.J. McCarthy. They're just too stupid to understand the quarterbacks. Why would you take J.J. McCarthy in the first round? I mean, the guy sucks. And Frank Harris is very good on a kind of a middle team. He was very good. The guy from Tulane, Bryn, was very good. What you're not looking at these guys? And you're taking J.J. McCarthy, who handed the ball off 60 times a game. Yeah, okay. Makes good sense there. Big Nebraska, 27.5, 49.5 to UTEP. Where is big? Oh, there we go. 27.5 and 50. Nebraska's got a new quarterback, a freshman, and UTEP's got a returning quarterback. Nebraska had an 18 defense and UTEP a 28. Nebraska was very weak. They were an under last year, and we'll have to grade them out this year. Eastern, 1.5, 49 to UMass. That hasn't moved. Eastern with the new quarterback transfer. UMass with a returning quarterback. I don't know if that matters. You know, it was ironic. Week 1, I locked my New Mexico State team, who, by the way, beat Auburn and won 10 games last year. I lock them against UMass, and they lose the fucking game. Then they go on to win 10 and beat Auburn, but they lost to UMass. Oh, my God. So I had the game pegged, but that's why only Madoff can go 100%. We should have won that game by 30 points. All right, Ohio State is 50.5, 58 over Akron. I really don't see why this number is going up. Akron's not going to score. Akron's a Z team. Gave up 28 a game. A new transfer quarterback. As I said, Ohio State has Will Howard from Kansas State's great quarterback. And they got Chip Kelly, the offensive coordinator. I look for Ohio State to be very explosive this year. And as far as I can see, still have that great defense. This is going to be them and Georgia, I would think, the top 2 teams by far. And they're going to kill Michigan, and I can't wait for that game. We're going to get our double revenge on Ohio. Well, actually, we got revenge last year. We had Ohio State in 10, and they lost by 6. But I want the win. I'm going for blood. I want the win. But Ohio State will probably be 7-point favorites this year at Ohio State. Miami of Ohio, Northwestern. I got Northwestern 3.5, 43. To Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio is a very good MAC team. Returning quarterback is very good. Northwestern's got a new quarterback. If Miami, Ohio wins, it's not even an upset. Remember, Northwestern's got kind of an interim coach, and they made him the coach. But Miami, Ohio, don't doubt this thing. Well, you got a good quarterback and a good defense. I think Miami's a very live dog here. Ohio, Syracuse. Syracuse, 14.5, 47.5. Down from 15.5. Interesting. Actually, down from 15. And 47.5. Ohio is a very strong MAC team. Also, new quarterback. Syracuse gives up 24 a game. Has a new quarterback, the Ohio State quarterback, McCord, who sucked at Ohio State. You had Marvin Harrison and Ubakwe, and you sucked? Really? So, yeah, what's you going to do at Syracuse with these receivers? I do not buy Syracuse as a good team. New coach, new quarterback from I think Ohio's going to give them all they want. Indiana 19.5, 50.5 to Florida International. We flip page here. 19.5, 50.5. Down from 52. Indiana, a new quarterback who's a transfer who's very good. I think he's from Miami. He's not from Miami, Ohio, but I think he might be from Ohio or one of these MAC schools, but he's pretty good. Florida National has a returning quarterback, but I don't know how good he is. Last year, they both gave up over 30 points a game, so not much defense there. So Indiana should do well. Florida National, I think Indiana at home kind of has their way with them. Hey, Greg and John, nothing new. July 4th. Texas, 36-59 to Colorado State. $36. Here we go. We got both teams with returning quarterbacks. Colorado State gave up 30 points a game last year, Texas 17. It's kind of a big number for Texas, but they got the quarterback back, Ewers. Colorado State, their quarterback's back. He threw for a lot of yards and just a lot of interceptions too. Um, we'll see. I mean, Sarkisian's back. They must win the game because they get to play Alabama and Georgia and all the SEC guys. So look for Texas to start off strong, especially against this weak defense. They should put it up on them. Georgia Southern and Boise State. Boise is 10.5, 57.5. Boise with the new transfer quarterback from USC. So he's a backup. He didn't get to start. That means he's not that good. If you don't start at USC with that offense, how good are you really? Oh, well, he's supposed to be a 5-star freshman. Yeah, bullshit. If he was, then why isn't he starting? So you always question, you got to keep that. If he's really that good, why would USC let him go? Georgia Southern with a new freshman. So Boise's supposed to be a good offensive team this year, good running, good receiving, but you got this freshman quarterback who you got to see. Georgia Southern had a 30 defense, Boise a 25 defense last year. Just an FYI, just a point of reference. We would think it's still going to be a lousy defense. Boise should get a little bit better. Hard to say Georgia Southern with a new freshman quarterback. It's hard to bet the over. But Boise has a new freshman quarterback also. So it gets hard until you see the guys. It's very hard. Well, he was a 5-star. Yeah, against high school players. Come on. That's ridiculous. Old Dominion against South Carolina. We got South Carolina 17.5, 54.5, down from 56. Going under, not sure why. Both defenses gave up 26. Old D, their quarterback's back. South Carolina, as we know, Rattler actually got drafted, and I don't think Bren, the Tulane quarterback, did. That's amazing. Rattler sucks. I don't know why. What are you drafting? What, a third stringer? You need to draft Rattler. I know he went in the 5th or 6th round, but still, that guy sucks. Old D has their quarterback back, but both defenses kind of suck. South Carolina, I'm not impressed with. Hey, Real D, how you doing today? You knocking for what? Baseball picks or my college football picks? South Alabama, 6.5, 65.5 to North Texas. North Texas is a very explosive team, great offense and no defense. They're the perfect over. They give up 37 a game. South Alabama, 6.5, 63, or no, it's up to 65. So this line jumped from 59 to 63 to 65, and we're still in July. South Alabama has a guy who played a little last year as a freshman. In North Texas, they lost their quarterback. He actually transferred. I think he transferred to Tulane. So they got a new transfer quarterback. They run an explosive offense, North Texas. They got a no defense. I can see why the 59's up to 65. I'm not sure about South Alabama being able to score a lot of points, though. North Texas will. This should be a high-scoring game. I agree with that, but again, with the new quarterback, returning freshman for South. I don't know how he's a returning freshman. I guess he played 3 or 4 games and then didn't. Now he's redshirting, I guess. So he's a redshirt freshman, let's say. All right. Houston and Vegas. Houston 3 and 56.5. Vegas, a good over team. They gave up 27 a game. Houston gave up 31, but they get the new coach, Willie Fritz, he did great at Georgia Southern. He did great at Tulane, and now he comes to Houston. Look for Houston to be your sleeper team this year with Willie Fritz. The coach makes all the difference. That's why we watch him. Vegas, very explosive team last year. Their quarterback transferred to USC. Not quite sure why. So he goes to USC. The USC quarterback goes to Boise. I don't know. I kind of question why he left Vegas. They were very good. They got much better. They weren't a Z team anymore. So anyway, they were an over team. They gave up 27. Houston gave up 31. Houston will not give up 31 with this coach. Over under a 56. So again, Vegas with the new quarterback and Houston with the returning quarterback who was not that good. So we will see. Houston's, like I said, they're a live team this year. Keep your eye on them. Vegas should be very good in conference. A lot of overs. The offensive scheme they run gets some points. So we'll see how the new quarterback is. Nevada and Troy. Troy 15.5, 46.5. Boy, this has dropped. This was a 40. This was a 50, 48, 46.5. Nevada returning quarterback. Troy got the Notre Dame offensive coordinator, and he sucks. He was horrible with Hartman. They didn't score. It was ridiculous. They're laying, 16 and 46.5. Nevada. So we'll get a chance to watch Nevada against SMU in week 1 or the 24th. This is a week later. I don't know. Nevada, they're a 33 defense, but Troy with this idiot coach. Troy was a good team last year. They had a 17 defense. So just so you get a feel of the team. Again, we got to watch the new coach, how much he screws up. I'm not impressed. I don't like Notre Dame's head coach. Certainly don't like this guy. You have Hartman and you can't score. What are you going to do with this guy? So I don't know. We'll have to see Nevada week 1 to see if we want to play him. Alabama, 31-59.5 to Western Kentucky. We all know Alabama. They were an 18 defense last year with Saban. But we look at DeBoer, and he was a 23 defense with Washington. So we're going to be low 20s, I think, with DeBoer. But I think we get actually better offense. Alabama, we got Milrose back, and Western Kentucky's got a new quarterback who's a transfer. Western Kentucky, 28 defense. I think this game goes way over. I think Milrose with this DeBoer offense, forget about it. I think they put up 50 points. Western Kentucky with a 28 defense, but I think Western Kentucky can score on them. I don't know how strong Alabama's defense is. It's not Nick Saban. And a lot of Alabama's players left. So I think this game goes on. I just think Alabama's going to score differently than they did the last few years with Saban when they started scoring a lot. It was a gimmick. DeBoer is not a gimmick. He's got a good system in place. You watch how good Penix is in the pros versus Mac Jones and Tagliabue and all these guys from Alabama. So this is a real offense now. So look for Alabama to explode here. Rice against Sam Houston. Rice 11.5 and 47.5. This has gone down from 49. Again, it's July 7th, not August 7th, right? We've got a new transfer quarterback for Rice. Sam Houston's got a new quarterback, which they suck. They're terrible. They're a terrible offense, an under team, a 26 defense. Rice with the 26 defense. I don't know. I think Rice has been playing better. Sam Houston, they just can't score, but they don't have a good deal. I think you got to take Rice here. I think they're probably a good play there. My revenge game, Michigan 20.5 down from 21 and a 48.5 up from 47, which surprises me. Fresno State 25 defense, and they got Mikey Keene back, great quarterback, great coach. Michigan 20.5 had a 10 defense, but they got a new defensive coordinator, and I question the 10 defense. They didn't play anybody. Ohio State was terrible, and they scored 24 on them. Alabama put up a 20 with Milrose, and then Washington, they didn't have the running back. So I don't think Michigan's a 10 defense at all, probably a 20 if they played good teams. The Big Ten sucked last year and had no offense. They were as bad as the MAC. So you've got a new coach, you got a new defensive coordinator, you've got a new quarterback, right? New running back. So Michigan is not the same team, which I thought they weren't that good anyway. They could not have beat Georgia or Oregon had they played them. They kind of got lucky that they didn't have Georgia or Oregon in the playoff, which was a disgrace. I think Fresno State is a very live dog here. You've got a very veteran quarterback. You've got a very veteran coach. A lot of returning players, a 25 defense. But what you have is, I'm sure they're going to pull out the TCU game film of 2 years ago, and they got a good coach, and he'll see what Michigan's problem was. See, Michigan never faced a good quarterback last year. McCord at Ohio State was not good. Eller at Penn State was not good. And Milrose wasn't any good, and finally Penix, but he didn't have the running back. So Michigan never faced a good quarterback last year. Their preseason was Hawaii and Southfield, Lathrop, and Rice high schools. So they never played the caliber of offense of a TCU. They're getting it here. Look for Fresno State to keep this game close. Hey, Eric. Oh, not much. Happy 4th of July, guys. Hope everybody is well and enjoying. So we're just going through week 1 of college football. Oregon 43.5 over Idaho. They'll probably kill them, but we'll see. A&M Notre Dame. A&M is a 1 and a 49 to Notre Dame. You can get a 1.5 at FanDuel. I don't know what William Hill is, but I don't like Notre Dame anyway in this game. We've got a 49 over under. Notre Dame with the 17 defense last year. A&M with the 21 defense. A new transfer quarterback, Riley Leonard, will be Notre Dame's from Duke. Is nowhere near Hartman. And A&M, their quarterback's returning. They had a lot of injuries at quarterback, so they should be really loaded in quarterback. I don't know where this game's at. It's probably at Jerry World or somewhere. I doubt it's at A&M. 21 defense and a 17 defense. New offensive coordinator for Notre Dame. I don't like their coach. He's in way over his head. I love the under here. This is a 49. How in the world does this game get over? So Notre Dame 17 defense, A&M 21. Or how does this game get over? They don't, Notre Dame doesn't have a quarterback. Maybe they lost Hartman. They lost the running back. So Notre Dame's not going to score a lot. And A&M won't score a lot on Notre Dame. So go under, boys. UCLA, Hawaii. UCLA 13 and 50, between 54 and 56. Take your pick. I got 13.5 and 54. So let's call it 55. UCLA with a great defense, but their defensive coordinator went to USC. But the line coach who was there is now the D coach. So D coordinator. They might not fall off as much as we think. Then Hawaii with a strong quarterback, strong offense, and a 32 defense. So they're a total over team. UCLA will have to see. Both quarterbacks are back. Ethan Garber's for UCLA and Schrader for Hawaii. And Hawaii's got one of their quarterbacks as the head coach. This is his 3rd year. They're getting better, because he needs his type of players. But again, there's no defense played on Hawaii. UCLA's head coach never coached before, Deshaun Foster, but he was the running backs coach under Chip Kelly, so he knows Chip's offense. So we're not as blind with UCLA as I first thought. I said, shit, I lost my offense coach, and my head coach was the offensive coordinator, my defensive coordinator. But the new ones were there, so we won't go completely, naked. UCLA with an 18 defense, new coordinator. We'll see. I think I'll have them playing well. Deshaun Foster, I think, will have the offense playing well against Hawaii. Both quarterbacks back. This should be an over game, 55-49 Hawaii. Unless UCLA just applies all this pressure on him. That's how Hawaii gets mismatched against these better teams. They blitz the quarterback. He has no time to throw it. When he plays these lesser teams, he sits there and throws the ball 50 times and throws 5 touchdowns. But against the UCLA, Georgia, these better teams, they put the pressure on the quarterback. He can't do anything. That's why you see Alabama beating like a Western Kentucky or Memphis, and they beat them like you think, oh, well, they're going to score. And they never do because there's too much pressure put on, too much blitzing. The quarterback never has time to throw against an Alabama and a Georgia. All right. So look for this game to probably go over, but we do want to see UCLA with the new coaches. Quarterbacks back, defense, we'll see. The Twins, I don't know if they're still there. They had 2 twin defensive tackles that were very good, but I think they're still there. I don't think they got drafted. Kentucky, Southern Miss, Kentucky at 25.5, 50. Hasn't moved. Southern Miss with the 36 defense last year, Kentucky with the 25. New quarterback for Kentucky, a new transfer quarterback for Southern Miss. Kentucky at home. Southern Miss with the 36 defense. I don't know. I think Kentucky beats them, but we got to watch. We got to see how good this Kentucky quarterback is and how good the Southern Miss one is. Georgia Tech, Georgia Southern. Georgia Tech plays Florida State week 1. I think they'll play Florida State very well, and I think they'll kick the shit out of Georgia Southern. Lane 20.5, 56.5. Both defenses are 30s. So Georgia Tech's eyes got to be wide open playing a 30 defense like Georgia State. But I think Georgia Tech's defense will get a little bit better. And probably a high-scoring game. King, the quarterback for Georgia Tech, is very good. Their coach is a good offensive mind versus Georgia State got a new transfer quarterback. So I think Georgia Tech, depending on what happens with Florida State, I think they especially if they lose to Florida State, which they probably will, they could upset them. They're going to kill Georgia State here. Charlotte against James Madison. James Madison, Charlotte. Where are you, Charlotte? There they are. James Madison is 8.5, 51.5 in this game. Hasn't really moved. Charlotte gives up 28 a game, new quarterback. James Madison, pretty good. A new transfer quarterback. He was Penix's backup at Washington. I don't know how good he is. He wasn't very good before Penix. So he obviously isn't starting at Washington, transfers to James Madison. James Madison's a very good team, an 18 defense. I think James Madison should be good here, especially with this transfer Washington quarterback. I don't know if they got a new coach. I'll have to look into that. Arizona State, Wyoming. Arizona State is 7.5, 46.5, up from 45, little over betting. Wyoming is supposed to be a very good team this year. New quarterback, though. New coach, I believe, and a 23 defense. Arizona State, they got a 32 defense. They got a new transfer freshman quarterback. Don't know. Anytime I hear a freshman quarterback, I worry. Arizona State, no defense. Did you see Arizona State's only a 7.5, but it is in the desert. So I'm not sure. We have to watch. We have to learn Arizona State and Wyoming. Arizona, on the other hand, 30 and 54.5 to New Mexico. New Mexico gave up 35 a game, has a new quarterback. I believe they have a new coach too. Arizona, laying 30. They got their quarterback was outstanding. Fajita is back. They do have a new defensive coordinator. He went with the head coach, went to Oregon State, or no, went to Washington, I believe. So Arizona had a 20 defense. They had a really good defense last year. And so we got to see a new defensive coordinator and a new head coach. I think Arizona lights them up here. I love the quarterback, Fajita. They're laying 30, so yeah, I think they cover this. New Mexico's got a 35 defense. They should really light them up, and Arizona's good at home, although we do have a new coach. All right. Then the game of the week, we got USC, LSU. LSU, 6.5, 62.5. LSU had a 28 defense, USC a 35 defense, got the UCLA defensive coordinator in. It'll probably take him more than one game to get him to fix it if he can, if USC has any players that can play defense like UCLA did. We know we've got two new quarterbacks. LSU Daniels, we know got drafted, so did Caleb. The backup for USC, if they go with him, is the guy from Vegas. He was really good. So I'm not sure who their starter is. Is it the kid in the bowl game who played against the backups, or is it going to be the kid from Vegas who's probably much better? That we'll have to see. I'm sure he'll get playing time in this game. LSU, Chip Kelly runs a great offensive system. So Daniels will be good. Daniels was very good. The way he threw the ball, I'm not worried about Daniels in the system that much. But USC, we know, is always going to score. LSU, both defenses are weak, 28 and a 35. This game's, you got to go over on it. The 62.5, 56. You could have the over here by halftime. The game is in Vegas. Okay, the game's in Vegas, and the backup quarterback is from UNLV. So again, this game should hit 90. I mean, don't worry about the LSU quarterbacks played before, and the USC one played in the bowl, or the UNLV one. So definitely look for high scoring. I don't think USC is going to have the UCLA defense. I don't think UCLA's last year was what was an 18. I don't see USC having an 8. I don't think USC can have an 18 because they throw too much. The defense doesn't get a chance to rest. That's why you can't run this offense. The run and shoot never wins, because he didn't win at Oklahoma because he had really weak defenses, because there's nothing you can do when you're on offense for a minute and you either score or you throw an interception or 3 incompletions. The defense can't rest. Yeah, can't rest. So you're always fucked there. So I love the over in this game. BC, Florida State. We will get a look at Florida State against Georgia Tech. Uglia Buglia, not good. So they got the Uglia Buglia quarterback. BC has the returning quarterback, but he's weak. I got in my notes. So he's like 15 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. BC with a weak defense, 30. Florida State with the 16. I expect it to be even better this year. Probably running Uglia Buglia more than they want to pass it. Do have backup quarterbacks, so this will be interesting. So that's it. I guess out of this mess, I like Fresno State as a live dog, and the under in the A&M Notre Dame game, and the over in the USC game. Those are what are good games. You got to watch week one a lot because you got to get the feel of the new coaches, the new quarterbacks, right? Ohio State, we don't need to get a feel. I mean, they could seriously put up an 80 in this Akron game. Will Howard's great quarterback at Kansas State. He'll be they got running backs, they got receivers. They got Will Howard, who's a much better quarterback than what they had, and you got Chip Kelly calling the plays. At Ohio State, who's pissed they didn't make the playoffs last year. They lost to Michigan now 3 years in a row. Really? So you can see to bring in Chip Kelly, I don't know what he's doing. You're the coach at UCLA and you go offensive coordinator at Ohio State. Almost leads me to believe he's the next coach at Ohio State. You bring him into offensive coordinator and then you make him the head coach. So probably what you're saying. Will Howard, excellent quarterback, no problems there. The defense should be outstanding. You're loaded. I mean, it's Ohio State, Georgia for the title. I mean, that's clearing out. They're the top two by a mile. And they're laying 50 to Akron. I bet you they score the first 7 times they have the ball. I bet you they score touchdowns, right? It's going to go up and down. Akron sucks, right? Akron with the mighty 28. Well, they actually have a 28 defense, not a 35 defense, but they're a Z team. I just seriously, I think Ohio State gets into the 70s. I mean, we got to find out their backup quarterback because the starter McCord's at Syracuse, who the backup is. They'll come in and mop up in the fourth quarter, but they'll still try to get points. So I think Ohio State's going to give notice. It could be 77-0 this game. I mean, they are just fucking loaded, and they want to get Will Howard in, but he's a senior from Kansas State. I always liked him at Kansas State because he could put up 35 points a game at Kansas State. And they're more of like a running option type of team than an explosive offense type of team. Georgia, Clemson, we'll keep an eye on that. I think Georgia shuts them out. And Texas, I'll be curious. Their defense, Colorado State, I'll be curious. Their quarterback. I think Florida upsets Miami. I don't think that's I don't know why Miami's favored. I really don't understand that at all. Florida's not bad, but at home, you're making Florida a home dog to Miami. Really? Okay. Any reason why? Oh, because Ward's a good quarterback. Oh, really? We watched him at Washington State. He didn't win any games on the road. He beat, I think, Oregon State, and then he beat Wisconsin at home, and then he went to Oregon and got shut out, and that was the end of him. So I don't know if you're thinking Ward's this great quarterback because he got all these yards at Kennard Ward, that's where, or something like that. One of these Division II or junior colleges. He put up a lot of points and yards. He didn't do it at Washington State. All right, so that is our college football look week one. We're seeing line movements already in July. 2-3 points on over-unders. Keep your eye for injuries, and this will be interesting. Training camp should be starting. It's July for college. Pros a couple weeks away. And I think the end of the month we get the Hall of Fame game if they still have it. If they still have a Hall of Fame. And that's what you're looking at. Baseball, I'll go over for you guys who joined class late. Atlanta, a 3 unit. Washington over 9, 3 units. Cleveland over 9, 3 units. Miami over 8, a 2 unit. Houston over 9 is the 5 unit. Kansas City, 3 unit. Baltimore, 3 unit. Seattle under 7.5, the 3 unit. San Diego over 8, a 5 unit. And the Yankees over 8.5, a 5 unit. The way those games have been going, they're scoring touchdowns, not points there. I mean, it's unbelievable. What was it, 14-4 yesterday? And it was big score the first game. So that is that. So that's college football. I wanted to share this video with you, just a few minutes of it. about, it's entitled The Bank of Hitler. Okay, so this is what happened. Hitler's plan to wreck Britain's economy with fake money, counterfeit money. Now, I thought I wrote that down. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to play like 2 minutes in the beginning and then another minute at the end. What the idea is Hitler's trying to bankrupt England during World War II. Says, well, we can bankrupt them by inflating. So this is the proof, in case you listen to MMT Keynesian guys who say, oh, we can keep printing money, no problem. Okay, so Hitler's idea is to counterfeit a bunch of British pounds, dump them into Britain, and kill their economy because the dollars will be worthless because they'll inflate them by printing it, which is the whole point I keep making. You can't keep printing to death. So let's listen.
Through Europe, only Britain held out against their assault. But the Nazis had a covert plan to undermine the British defenses. In a concentration camp north of Berlin, a secret weapon was rolling off the production lines. Its purpose? To strike silently and stealthily at the heart of the British Empire and invade every aspect of daily life. It was a weapon made of paper. At the height of World War II, the Nazis pulled off the greatest currency forgery in history, producing the equivalent today of over £3 billion. The original plan was to produce very large amounts of British paper currency and drop it over Britain. Some of the more honest members of the public would maybe have handed them into banks or police stations, but generally the Germans were banking on the idea that they wouldn't, and it would cause huge inflation and totally destabilize the currency and the British government.
What's the best oil to cook with?
Number 3, canola oil, if you can find, or
currency and the British government. Hitler personally authorized the plan to flood Britain with fake currency, cause massive inflation, and wreck the British war effort. To produce these forgeries, the Germans relied on a unique national resource.
Okay, we don't have to get into that. So, fucking Hitler understands inflation. If they're going to print money and inflate the dollar and ruin the economy, fucking Hitler got that, right? So that was the idea. But why? Because if you print and flood the market with dollars, it goes to zero. It inflates it to zero. Fucking Hitler understands that. And the idiots in charge here don't. The MMT guys, Reichert and these guys, oh, you can print, no problem. You can just keep printing and it's fine. No problem. Nothing happens. Just keep printing and keep printing and keep printing. But yet Hitler's sitting there going, well, if we flood the market with pounds, it'll destroy their economy. Well, which one's right? Right? Obviously, what the Nazis did, because they knew from 1923, they flooded their own market to try to pay off the World War I debt, and it caused hyperinflation and killed their economy. So Hitler's got he knows what's going to happen. So you print a lot of money and it destroys the economy. What do we got now? What do I keep saying? Oh, we printed $21 trillion and there's another $130 trillion out there in all this, oil money that's all coming home. What's going to happen to our economy? So, believe your ears and eyes. This is what happened. Why did they do it? Because they knew that's what was going to happen. So if Hitler can figure it out, I mean, we know he didn't have all his oars in the water, but he was smart enough to know that, and they found prisoners in the concentration camp who could do it, and they did it. But there's a twist at the end, which I'll just tell you, but let me go to. Okay, and we're gonna talk. The same thing happened to France, but I want to.
Excess terrorism and intelligence gathering throughout the world. One agent alone was paid £1.5 million in Bernhard currency for vital information about Allied war plans. And in 1943, it funded the rescue of the overthrown dictator Mussolini, helping prolong the war in Italy by 18 months.
He was imprisoned, and the Germans were interested in setting him free. So they had a problem. He was hidden, and they had to locate him. So with the help of this money, of the faked British pounds, they were able to bribe various Italian officials or police person or whatever, and in this way they could locate him.
Schloss Labers became the Nazi Bank of England. But as Schwendt and his network distributed their fakes around the world, the real Bank of England made a startling discovery. Even as late as the 1940s, every note issued by the bank was recorded in vast leather-bound ledgers.
It literally goes back centuries to the origin of the banknote, which was a receipt for coin. Somebody came in, made a deposit of coin, were given a receipt in the form of a note, a promissory note. I promise to pay Mr. XYZ or bearer the sum of, and then the amount, and that was handed back to them.
The numbers were entered in the ledger as a liability on the bank. It was during this archaic process that a clerk spotted in a bundle of returned notes one that had already been marked in the ledger as paid off.
So either the one that had been paid before was a forgery, or this one was a forgery, and it turned out to be this one. And the principal of the office, on seeing this note, described it as the most dangerous he'd ever seen. I think people understand that money is important during life, but it's also equally can be a matter of life and death during wartime.
In the 1790s, the British forged the French Revolutionary money, and it was incredibly effective. By, I think, 1795, it was 13,500% inflation. So much so that they just withdrew the currency and burnt it in the streets. Big bonfires in the center of Paris. To avoid panic, the bank kept their discovery a secret. It was announced that to counteract the effects of the black market, no new notes above £5 would be printed.
So it happened to France in the 1780s and 90s. And you don't think inflation's bad. It was 13,000%, so bad that they burnt the money. Where do you think we're headed, right? This is proof here. So England did it to France in the 1790s. They counterfeited and inflated France's money to zero because it was worthless, because there was too much of it. Oh, so you mean if I print a lot of money, it becomes worthless? Exactly. So you had that, and now you have the Nazis doing it to Britain. But instead of dumping it on Britain, what they did was use it. So they could have dumped it on Britain, but the guy said, you know what? Instead of doing that, why don't we keep it? And we'll get Mussolini out. We'll buy these goods and services around. Let's keep the money and use it instead of killing Britain's economy, which they could have done. They kept it, and they used it to buy, machine guns and cannons, whatever, food and everything else, probably to buy gold also. Hitler had a lot of gold. Yeah, it's somewhere in there it says it, but yeah, like, I think I said yesterday on another video, he had like $2 billion worth of gold at that time. I mean, tons and tons of it. So Hitler understood finance, or somebody in his group maybe Hitler didn't, but I'm sure he had a finance guy who wasn't as stupid as the US is. So there you go. There's 2 points, right? The Germans could have collapsed England by printing the money, dumping it on in their economy, and flooding their money with the currency, and it would have been all over. England did it to France in the 1790s, and they actually burnt the money because they couldn't use it because it got so inflated. So there's 2 examples what inflation does. So this is why anytime I talk about paper money, you're fucked, because they can easily. How hard is it? How hard is it, do you think, to counterfeit this if it's not already done by the Russians and other countries? I mean, this is very easy to counterfeit, I'm sure. But going digital doesn't help, because you can just as easily flood that market if you got idiots digitally doing it. So you can't really trust that either. That's why gold. This is why gold is the best, because you can't print it. So if England was using gold-backed currency, well, if they were using gold, Germany couldn't have done that, right? They can't, because they wouldn't have gold to flood the market. And if they did have gold, they dropped the gold from the planes, everybody would pick it up and have a holiday. This is why gold's so good, because you can't inflate gold. You can't print it. The Nazis couldn't print it. The English couldn't have printed it in the 1790s. But when you have paper dollars that is printed, this is one of the biggest risks you have. The Russians could be printing US dollars all over the place, ruining our economy, which it's already ruined, right? So I'm telling you what has already happened. We've already printed so many dollars, it's worthless. And that's what's happened here. And that's what happened in England. And that's what happened in France. And that's what happened in Germany. So there's 4 times it's happened just there. But it's already happened in Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Argentina, Sri Lanka, Greece. I mean, we could go on and on right now what's happening. And you can see these countries with huge inflation all going out. The answer is not a new dollar. The answer is gold, because the new dollar can be printed and inflated. And these idiots don't get it. They think, well, we'll just keep printing dollars and it won't be a problem. Well, there you go. I just gave you two real examples of what happens when you print the dollars. Too much dollars, floods it, ruins the economy. I mean, the fucking French had to burn the dollars because they were worthless. I mean, what is that, right? So a lot of it is you print it and then nobody wants it. So there goes I want, the trust. There's no trust in the dollar. There's too much printed. Nobody wants it. Bye-bye. So how many people are going to want this? Once they see all the dollars, they're not going to want it. And the same thing here. You printed and printed and printed and printed. Nobody's going to want it. And that's what I'm doing. That's what this whole class is about. And then I'm protecting you by saying you can't inflate gold. You can't print it, and silver. It's what comes out of the ground. That's it. You can't print it, copy it. You can't have forgers create gold. You got to have gold out of the ground. That's it. So that's why we buy gold, because you can't counterfeit it. You can't print it. You can't inflate it. That's what they're doing in comex. They're actually inflating it by doing these derivatives. That actually puts more gold out there than really is, because it's the paper gold. So they're sitting there. I mean, what's JP Morgan and comex doing? They're running a derivative with 4%. So they're saying, well, we got 5,000 ounces, or let's say we got 50 ounces of gold and we're going to do a derivative for 50,000. Well, there ain't, you don't have 50,000 ounces of gold. You only have 5,000 ounces of gold. So what are they doing? They're inflating it, right? Because they're saying there's more, but it's not real. That's why I know the price will go up when we get a physical and when we end comex, because they won't be able to keep inflating the paper gold, and we'll get a real physical gold price, and there's far less. This is the only way you kind of inflate gold, is allowing comex to operate, but that's why it hasn't gone up. And that's why people don't want to buy gold. They think it's a stock. They think it's Apple. Well, Apple went from 100 to 200. Look at all the money I made. Or Bitcoin, it went all the way up to 70,000. Look all the money. Well, I didn't make it. I didn't sell my Bitcoin. But look how it went up. But gold doesn't do that. Gold will do that when you get the paper inflation out of it and you leave it to physical, where they can't print it and it's only how many ounces are there. And that's what we're waiting for. And it's going to the moon because we're getting out of comex, because they need physical gold to do the derivatives, and they're almost out of it. And then BRICS, what does BRICS see? You know, they're not stupid. They see what Hitler was doing with all the gold, or at least the Germany. And so what are they doing? They're going, hell, that's what works. And if we keep printing the money, then I'll look at the ruble and the yuan. They're not worth anything. The yen's going out. So that's Japan. So all the paper money's going out, just like it just did with England and France and Germany. You print too much of it, it's worthless. Well, what are these idiots doing? They're printing too much of it because there's no weight, there's no anchor to keep you from printing it. Gold prevents you from printing it. In 1971, Nixon kept printing it for the social program. Oh, we need welfare and we need to feed people, and let's make a bridge and roads, and and then they made more money than the gold they had. That's why they got off the gold standard, because you can only have as much dollars as you have gold. You can't print more dollars. I got $1 billion worth of gold. I can only print $1 billion worth of dollars, because you should be able to redeem it at the bank. I want to use $100. I want $100 worth of gold, and they are supposed to give it to you in a gold standard. But as corrupt governments have been all the way back to the Romans, you can see they don't know what to do with the gold, because they want to keep printing the dollars. For some reason, they think that this, they don't get the concept that this loses value when you print it. So in their eyes, you get some idiots who don't understand economics, don't understand finance, go, oh, we'll just keep printing them. And Japan's thing, well, we'll print $1,000 bills and $10,000 bills, because that'll be better, right? So I showed you that. So here you go. How long are these going to last? 5 minutes? I mean, why didn't France do that in 1790? Why didn't Germany do this in the 1920s, if this is the answer? Because as you print them, that's it. So Japan's gone. When you go to this, Japan's gone, right? You understand they need more money because they're worthless, so they come out with a $10,000 note, and that is going to buy you a cup of coffee in Japan. And that's the problem. So don't think you can just keep printing and printing. And it's just amazing how they don't just go on the gold standard and never have this again. And they don't understand that the problems that inflation causes. You need the money to live and eat and heat your house. You need the money to go to work and get paid, and then to buy bills and to vacation and eat and everything else. So you must understand you can't just keep printing. And yet we don't. Now, George Soros is a Nazi. He, above all, obviously knows this. And that's why the whole world's paper and the whole world's printing. He wants to destroy the whole world because he wants revenge from World War II. He's in charge. That's why we're doing it, because he's saying, keep printing, keep printing. Oh, don't worry. And then they come up with MMT and said, oh, if you just, you can print as much as you got, just keep printing the money, nothing will happen. Well, why did France burn all their money in 1790? And why did Germany go out in 1923? And then why was this whole plan to print all this money to England to bankrupt them? If you can print all the money and nothing happens, then why is Germany going to do that? Why didn't Germany survive? And why didn't France survive? Why didn't Rome survive? Because it doesn't work. And there's proof. And so when a guy like some of these idiots that I point out to you on these other YouTube channels sit there and they just give you a brief look, well, no, we'll just keep printing money. It's fine. All right, the inflation is not that high. Well, but they don't explain that it can't. And what do they say when? Well, what happened in Nazi Germany? What happened in France? What were the Germans trying to do in World War II, where they're trying to print the money to bankrupt England? Well, why have that thought if it doesn't work? Obviously, it does work. So it's just amazing that they say this stuff, but they can't back it up. That's why I say beware of these guys. They're all Madoffs. And let's take it one step further. The inflation rate, in France was 130,000% when they burned their money in 1790. Why didn't inflation go down? And in Germany, the inflation was 500,000%, and in Venezuela and in Zimbabwe. Why didn't they reverse the inflation? Because you can't, because it's about printing the money. The money becomes flooded and worthless, and you just burn it, because it's Germany. They were wallpapering their walls with it. You know what happened in France? They burnt it in the streets. And in England, had they released it on England, they would have went bankrupt. However, because they kind of, instead of bankrupting England, they said, fuck it, we need money too. Let's just take the money and spend it because it looks damn real. And so they started using it to buy things. So, if you could counterfeit money and go buy it, then that's what they ended up doing. Instead of flooding and making it worthless, they said, no, it's better. Let's use it to buy things. And they bought equipment and food and all this stuff. They bought because it was better than bankrupting them. Here we got all this money. Should we bankrupt England or use it? So they decided to use it. And it was an interesting video. There was 4 guys who were in on it or still alive or were still alive when they did the video. And they're the ones who spoke about it. Anyway, when you start seeing these big dollars like the yen, don't walk, run to the exits. Run to the gold store and the silver store. And I mean, run. And I have 620 ounces of silver, and I'm like, I don't have enough. I have some gold. I don't have enough. No matter what I have, I don't have enough. I wish I had a ton, and it still wouldn't be enough. A ton's 32,000 ounces, but I don't have that, unfortunately. But it wouldn't be enough. And then central banks keep buying, and China keeps buying, and Russia keeps buying, and India, Saudi Arabia, the list goes on. All these BRICS. Why do you think everybody's joining BRICS? Because they've learned from these World War II and the 1790 and the Romans that if you don't have gold, you're fucked. It's not hard to figure out. The problem is if Soros is running these guys, there's really nothing, if the people in charge are Soros guys, they're not going to allow it. They don't want gold. India doesn't want gold-backed currency. Apparently the US and Canada don't believe in gold. I'm not sure why. So why would Hitler get like billions of dollars in gold in the 1930s and 40s but yet US and Canada don't have any. So they're smarter than the Germans. Really? Okay. I'm not sure I'm getting that, but that's where the problem lies. Soros is running it and doesn't like gold and says, "Nah, we don't want gold. We'll just keep printing money because you can just keep printing and nothing will happen." And you're like, okay, I got 4 examples. I mean, the Romans, the Germans, the French, and the English, where that's not true. And then you had Venezuela and Zimbabwe. If these guys, if you could lower inflation, you would have, right? They wouldn't have let inflation keep running. But what did they do? Inflation was going up. Venezuela, Zimbabwe kept printing. Germany, 1923, what did they do? They printed more and more and more, and it killed it. You can't print to get rid of inflation because the more you print, the less they're worth. So if you're doing that, how is inflation supposed to go down? So if you believe inflation is 3%, you're out of your fucking mind. $21 trillion out there and 130 trillion out with the Saudi and the petrodollar and all the FX trades. You don't think they flooded the market? Okay, we can't sell our debt because nobody wants it. Why? Because it's not worth anything. Putin knows the dollar's worthless, and China knows the dollar's worthless. Japan doesn't want any more dollars. Nobody wants to buy our dollars because they know it's worthless and they'll never get paid back. Why would I buy something from you and then you owe me, but you're never going to pay me? Why would I do that? So I'm just handing you money, basically. So that's really what's going on. And that's why I tell you this inflation's far higher than 3%. And it's not based on prices year over year. I don't know where the fuck they get that from. That is not how you measure inflation. It's how they're measuring it, but that doesn't mean it's correct. It is not correct. There's no way that you measure it year over year and you measure it in prices. Again, it's money printing is the inflation, period. That's it. As I just showed you what Germany was doing to Britain. Money printing to inflate and ruin the economy. That's it. It devalues the dollars, the effect of it, which makes it worth nothing. And then, of course, the prices go up in that dollar. So in the British pound or in Germany in the 20s, the dollar lost its value, the Deutschmark, and that's why the prices went up. Nobody wanted it. It wasn't worth anything. You just printed a trillion of these things. So that affects the value of them, which affects, then I got to charge you more to get them. And most likely that's the problem. Then they say, I can't sell it because I don't even want to take your dollar. And that's what's going to happen with gold and silver down the road. They won't, you won't be able to buy it with dollars. Right? Just keep that in mind. They won't, well, it's 50,000 an ounce, but you know what? Not in US dollars. I don't want that. Maybe in BRICS currencies, you'll be able to buy gold. So with that said, that's the whole point of it. You've got to be very careful what you hear and what reality is. That's what I'm here for. So, see, I don't have an agenda. I'm showing you reality because I feel you're not taught it and you don't know, and you're on the outside looking in, and I don't like that. So that's what I'm doing here. But these other guys that like Mark McGuire, well, Alligator, and some of these other guys, Rick Reichert and these guys, Maloney, they don't have a clue. I mean, they're not economists, so they don't even understand this concept. Well, anytime you hear a guy say inflation's 3%, turn them off. I don't even think it's 20%. I think it's much higher, but it's still kind of hidden. Prices keep going up. But again, they're measuring it year over year, and they're not including everything, right? So when gas goes to $5 a gallon I just filled up for $3.39 July 4th on my way up north. So when I did that, when it goes to $5, how are they going to measure it? And then everything around it goes up. right? So right after the election, you're going to see higher gas. They're keeping it down so they can say, look how good I'm doing. I've got the inflation handled. You don't have the inflation handled. You can't have the inflation handled. The only way to handle inflation, if I was in charge, I would kill all the dollars and bring out a gold-backed currency. And that's the only way we can survive financially. That's it. The economy's done. I would say be careful, like when you get your paycheck, it's got to go pay your bills and go into gold with the rest of it. Like I said, I was at the Toyota dealership the other day, and the guy, his friend, owns a parts store, and every night he goes and takes his money and puts it into gold and silver. That's when I told him that, but he didn't listen. He was so enamored with Bitcoin. But, Bitcoin isn't, what is it? It's not money, and it's not backed by gold. So do you think Bitcoin's going to be any different than the dollars? So how is this in Bitcoin? How does it vary? Even if Bitcoin is money, which it's not, because it's not, everybody doesn't agree on it. It's got to be accepted, which it isn't. How is Bitcoin going to survive when this won't? Oh, because there's only 21 million Bitcoins? That's not limited. Okay. How is that the lucky number? Oh, well, if we only print 21 million, we won't have inflation. Okay, try spending it. Well, nobody will spend it because everybody in Bitcoin thinks it's going to go to a million. A million what? Here, I'm going to destroy you. It'll be worth $1 million. Look at Bitcoin will go to a million. A million what? $1 million. How much is a dollar worth? It's a monopoly money. It's worth nothing. So even if Bitcoin goes to a million, it's dollars. It's worthless because the dollars are going to be burnt in the street of Paris, and they're going to be burnt in the street of New York because they're worthless. So even if your Bitcoin goes up, which is probably not with Fink running it, but even if it does, it's dollars. We're getting out of the dollars to buy gold and silver. So as Luke did, sell your Bitcoin to get into gold and silver. You can survive because even if it goes, it's still in dollars, and the dollar's worthless. And then what's Bitcoin? Bitcoin isn't real. It's digital. So how can you have Bitcoin? Bitcoin has to not be priced in dollars. But how can you do that? So that is your big problem, is even if it is. Now, if it's a real asset like this, it is priced in dollars. Let's say this is $2,000. There's 50 of them. The dollar will go out. This will go to zero, but the demand in gold will make it. But is there going to be gold demand for Bitcoin? It's not an asset, so I don't see how it is. A house, a car. See, a house will go to zero in dollars and then in gold. And that's what everybody misses. Oh, this is going to be hard times and everything. What are we going to do? It's going to be devastation. No, it won't be. In dollars, it'll collapse. But that's why you come out with gold-backed currency. Nothing will happen to you because then you have money in gold. That'll keep the economy running. That'll keep your lifestyle fine. You'll be fine if you have the gold and silver. You're not fine in dollars because, yes, the dollar will go to zero, and then you can't. How do you go to work? How are you going to get paid? How do you pay your stuff? And the economy will collapse in dollars. So that's why the answer is gold. So we might have to move to a BRICS country. Okay, it's been done before. I'm sure all the Romans moved out. When Rome collapsed, they went to Paris and Germany and France, or Paris, France. They all moved there. So keep that in mind. It's that's all that needs to happen, is you need a stable currency that has an anchor like a gold or a silver that you can't print. It's the printing that fucks the dollars, and the reason gold holds is you can't print it. They'll say counterparty risk, but I don't even understand what that means versus you can't print it. You can't print it is so much easier to understand than counterparty risk. Tells me the guy doesn't know what he's talking about. In other words, they say, well, this isn't really money. This is an IOU. You take it, you buy something. The guy takes it to his bank and gets credit for it. But in gold, it's yours and you own it and buy things with it. So then the big thing is, well, how do I go to the grocery store with gold and buy, my chocolate milk and my bag of Fritos? How do I do that with gold? Well, you ain't going to do it with money. I mean, it's going to be at the point there's no more money. It's France, okay? So now we're in France in 1790, and they're burning the money because the English dumped all the money on the French, and it's worthless. How did they go to the grocery store? What happened to France? Or is that Les Miserables? I think that is like Les Miserables, right? They had no money for food because it was worthless. But that's where gold comes in. Now, how do you go to the grocery store if the money is worthless? They'll take your gold and silver very happily. And then they'll have to revalue the gold and silver, which takes time. But so you're a grocery store. How are you buying food? Only with gold and silver. So it all has to be redone. And that is the problem is, what do I do? I'm the grocer, I'm Kroger's. How do I get food? I only have money to buy it from. And the money is worthless now. How do I go buy the food? And then how do I sell it? Because I can't sell it in dollars because the dollar we just burnt in the street of Paris. So how do I sell my food? And that's what happens is, well, we need a different currency. We need one that hasn't been inflated to death. Oh, gold and silver. Well, certainly I'll take, because there's confidence and trust in gold and silver. We know this is good. We know you can't print it. So that's when people start waking up going, oh, shit, that's what I need is the gold and silver because I can't use the dollar anymore. Or I'll end up like France and Germany and Venezuela and Zimbabwe and Greece and all these other countries. So that's really what I'm talking about in a nutshell. And there's your proof. So now you can go, yeah, now I get it. So when I saw it, I was curious what Hitler did because I didn't hear of hyperinflation in England. And now I know what his thought was what he was trying to do. And then how smart they were. They said, fuck it, we'll use the money instead of inflating England to zero. We have all these fake British pounds. We might as well use them. And that's what they did. So anyway, that's what's going on. So what COMEX does is inflate the money to lower the price, but it's not real. It's paper, which is why I always get upset going, these idiots don't understand paper versus physical. Because if you understood it, you can inflate the paper, but you can't inflate physical gold. That's why I tell you to buy it. Don't get an IRA. Don't get an ETF. You'll never get the physical out of it. The physical is drying up, if not already dried. Now, I can go to my store and get a little bit. He had a few ounces, and because people come in to sell it. These people are out of their freaking minds. Are you kidding? You're selling it in the middle of it going to 20,000 and you're selling it for 2,400. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But it will sell. It is very liquid. It's everybody will. Liquid means they'll take it, right? Who won't take gold? Okay, I want to go to the grocery store. Okay, but that's not where I sell it. You're going to take a Rolex to the grocery store, a Picasso to the grocery store? No. You got to sell it for whatever the medium of exchange. And in this case, it's still this. But when this goes away, we need a new medium of exchange so we can sell our gold to get that money. And it should be gold-backed currency like bricks. So if I go to Russia and I give them an ounce of gold at 50,000 an ounce, I get $50,000 worth of the bricks gold-backed currency. And I walk to the grocery store and I go and buy chips and Fruit Loops and Pop-Tarts, and I'm fine because I have gold, which kept its value, and then I get the gold-backed currency, which is what they're using. So ask yourself, why is there gold-backed currency the BRICS coming out with? Because they know They know it's all going to zero. They're not idiots. Give Putin some credit. Give Xi, well, I don't know about Xi credit, but give Putin credit. If he's got gold, I'm getting gold because that man's not stupid. Really, all he's doing is defending Russia now. So you can't, he's not a warmonger. He's not trying to take Poland and Romania and Hungary. He's staying in Russia. I got a big enough country now. I don't need to add Poland. Like he says, he's not trying to rule the Poles or the Hungarians or the Romanians. He's just got enough on his plate with the Russians. But one thing I showed you yesterday, which we'll repeat, we did look at did I bookmark it? So what we did see was where's Ukrainians' oil? It's in the regions they want, the Donetsk, the Carpathian region, which is Odessa, and that's the Black Sea, and the Crimea region. Notice the three cities that Russia's trying to get: Crimea, Donetsk, and Odessa. And because that's where the oil is. The oil fields of eastern Ukraine are situated in the sub-Carpathian region named I can't pronounce it. There's also all these minerals and resources, which I'll show you. This I sent to my friend. So here, many people know that Ukraine is also rich in various types of minerals, including iron, magnesium, titanium, non-ferrous metals, and thermal springs. And then I add, why there's a war. That's what the war is about right here. The oil and all this minerals, iron, magnesium, titanium, whatever non-ferrous metals and thermal springs. That's why you have a war. So what is Putin doing? He wants his oil and minerals. He knows how valuable they are. That's why he's only going after those cities, taking them and protecting them. And the U.S., our idiots, it's all the defense contractors are going, and probably like the Larry Finks and the J.P. Morgans that's what they're going after. That's why we have a war. That's why it's still going on. It's always about money. Every war since the beginning of time is about money. And there's gold and there's oil and all these minerals. And that's exactly what's happening. That's why the war is not ending, because we're trying to get it and Russia's trying to get it. And they're saying, fuck it, we got it. We got more troops. We're not giving it up to you. And Washington is trying to get it because it's money, right? So it's all about money. And that's why they don't care. They don't care if they kill Ukrainian people, the U.S. We don't have any of our people there. Well, I guess we have some. And they've tried, but they can't get it out. So I think they'll eventually give up. That's what, probably by the election, they'll end up giving up. I would have done it a different way. Instead of going to war over it, I might have actually tried to negotiate with Putin, saying, hey, why don't we help you do this? And we'll take 50% and you take 50%. We'll both profit from it. Maybe that would have been a better idea than trying that. And knowing Putin the way you see him, he probably would have agreed to it instead of going to war. He probably can't believe, what are these idiots trying to do? Take my oil and minerals and all the other shit. So that's what the war is about. So that's what Putin. So if Putin has gold, he's smart enough to know you need gold and not printed dollars. His ruble is worthless. He just came out with a new ruble 6 or 7, but he knows it's worthless. That's why they're doing a gold-backed BRICS currency, because they know everything else will collapse, and it always has. And there's never been one that's survived, because eventually some idiot prints it, or we're in the French case in the 1790s, the English printed it. Not even the French. They didn't even print it. The English counterfeited it and printed it and dumped it. Now there's too much French, whatever they call their currency, and it went worthless. And look what the Germans were doing, printing all the dollars to dump on England. So it's not even necessarily England printing their money to zero. The Germans are helping them. We're going to help you. We're going to print all these British pounds and dump it in England and bankrupt you. But they had a better idea of, why don't we use them? Because we already have them. If we bankrupt them, then they're worthless to us. But if we spend them, then they're not worthless. So they actually didn't want to make the British pound worthless, because they had all these. They had these guys in the concentration camps just printing them and printing them and printing them. So they did the plates. They learned how to do it. They verified it. They were really good at it. And that's what it was. That's how you survived in the concentration camp. You were good. You're a good forger. So these 4 guys in that video were what happened. Anyway, so that's economics, what it is. It's all about supply and demand, everything. Women, poker, go to the casino, whatever you want to call it. It's all about supply and demand and figuring out, trends and analysis. That's what you look at. So if you're gambling, so this is why when we get into gambling and I talk about, if you're in the stock market, how many shares are there? It's a lot. And they're flooding with the derivatives, just like they're doing with gold. They're flooding the stock market. So all of a sudden there's more shares of Microsoft than there really should be, because these derivatives are in there. And that's how they manipulate the price in the stock market. And again, money in the bank's worthless because they don't even have it. So you're going to be in trouble with money in the bank. You're in trouble with anything that's not gold or limited. So that's why I don't mind the baseball cards, because it's a 50 count Mahomes card. Oh, it's limited. It's numbered. Okay. So anything like that, you can't inflate, which means you can't print. And that's why they devalue. So that's why this Reggie Jackson card that's not numbered is probably worth $1. But if it was, let's just say, if it was here, if there was a Reggie Jackson card in this at 100, it would be worth a lot more than the 1 count. Like this Barry Bonds is worth a lot more than a regular Barry Bonds card, because it's limited to 100. Unfortunately, his demand went down because of the steroids. Otherwise, that card would be worth a couple $1,000s. Okay. So that's what you have in everything, though. It's the more of something, the less it's worth. So, if there was, where else are we at? So you get it a lot in food. If there's a surplus of beef, or if notice, the price went up because there's a shortage of mad cow disease. So there's no meat. And then all of a sudden the price jumps, and then they get it fixed, and then the price goes back down. So anytime there's a shortage, the prices go up, if you noticed. That's why they think inflation is the supply chain. Well, the supply chain's broke, and so the supply is, like, the lumber is less, so we're going to raise the price because it's limited. And then as soon as they get the new lumber in and all of it, all of a sudden the wood price goes down. So you can see it all over when it's limited. So you understand this as an investor, as a gambler. When it's limited, you buy it because it's going to go up. And then when they fix it and there's too much of it, the price goes down. So you can do that in anything. So that's my advice is, watch out for that. And it'll always happen. But again, stay away from things in money because as you can just see, I gave you 5 examples. They're going to keep printing the money to zero. So anything in money is going to zero. So that's the biggest problem with Bitcoin or that. But if it's a real asset, this is the difference. If it's just a Bitcoin where it's not an asset or it's the money, which is just paper, it's going to zero. But if you have a real asset, a Rolex watch or a Picasso or gold and silver or Mickey Mantle cards or your house or your car, if you have real assets, they're not going to lose value. They'll lose value in dollars, but regain the value in gold. So like that idiot was saying, the 7 things to do. Land it's kind of an asset, but it's supply and demand. It's where's it located. A house will lose its value in dollars and then wait for the gold. A bottle of wine, I don't know. Then it get like a classic car and a bottle of wine are now very unique and selective. Most people won't care about the bottle of wine or the classic car, a 63 Chevy. I don't care. I wouldn't spend $5 on it because I'm not a car guy or a wine guy. So those are very specific that you would go there. Everybody wants and needs gold and silver. That's the difference. The house you have is an asset, again, specific. And then the car, again, is, if you have a new Mercedes now and it's worth $60,000, it'll go to zero because it's priced in dollars, but then it will have a gold price. So if I have gold, so think about it like this. You have gold. You have a ton of gold. You got 32,000 ounces. What do you buy with it? Well, food and a house and a car and clothes. So all those things get value because you would buy them with gold and you will value it in gold. Well, I'm going to give you 2 ounces of gold for the house. Okay, what's the house worth? 2 ounces of gold. What's the gold worth? A house. 2 ounces is worth that house. So you can't price gold in dollars anymore because you don't have dollars to price it in. Then it's going to get priced in bricks dollars. That's what's going to happen. So now it's going to be a hell of a lot more than $10,000, right? It'll be 10,000 bricks dollars. And the bricks dollars will be worth a hell of a lot more than the dollar, and the gold will be priced in that. And that's what's going to happen. So you're going to, when you do sell your gold and silver because you need something, you want bricks dollars. You're not going to want USD number 2 or digital dollar. The digital dollar is no more than this, but it's just you can inflate it the same. It's not backed by gold. Anything not backed by gold, get up and run to the exits. You don't want it. You don't want digital. Digital is not a savior. If they're going to sell it like that, you're out of your minds. Is it backed by gold? No. And let me see, you're just printing it out of thin air. It's just digital. Well, wait a minute. What did the Germans try to do to the English, and the English to the France, and Germany to themselves, and the Romans? Wait a minute. If we got to trust you to control the supply, we're fucked, right? The English did it to the France, and the Germans were going to do it to the English. Just print more, and so it's not even you maybe doing it. It's other. Okay, so how hard would it be for the Russians, who we know are good in IT, we have digital currency, and how many are you going to have? 1 trillion? And then Russia goes, well, let's add 10 trillion to that number and flood it, and then it's worthless. How hard would that be for a good Russian IT guy to get into this system and add $10 trillion to the digital? Very easy. How easy would it be for him to do gold and silver? It would be impossible because you can't print it. You can't digital do anything with it. That's the fail safe with gold and silver. That's what you got to know. Things that can't be Copied or printed is what you want for value. A Picasso, you can't copy it, you can't print it. The Van Goghs, this card you can't because it's numbered 41 out of 50. You can't do it. It's only 50 of them. The Mantle cards, the Orr cards, the Brady, the guy's got it numbered out of 10. You can't print that. There's only 10 of them. So you're better off in those than you are in digital dollars or that. How do you go to the grocery store with them? You sell them. Once there's a dollar established, if it's a BRICS dollar or not, that's what you want. You don't want a US dollar for your Mahomes card or your bottle of wine, your anything like that. You don't want those dollars because they're worthless and they're flooded and it's zero. So you must think like that and you must avoid that. So you're looking for things that can't be printed. You can't print a Picasso or a Van Gogh or that or a Rolex. You can't duplicate a Rolex. There could be fake Rolexes. I had a boss once who showed me his Rolex. He said, "Well, this is fake," and I'm like, "Then why are you showing it to me? Why would you own a fake Rolex?" "Oh, so I can say I have a Rolex, but it's not real." So, this is a type of strange people that you meet. Well, I got a fake one, so it's worthless. Just so be able to spot that, but that's why things that you can't really copy or print is what you want. That's where the value is. So that's why gold and silver is the easiest. Go to the coin store. It's a 1 ounce eagle. It's a 1 ounce Krugerrand. It says 999 fine gold. The guys tested it. Fine. You buy that. And it can't lose its value. And it's going to multiply 50, 100 times in value, because the paper's all going to go to zero, and then everybody's going to be scrambling for gold and silver because it's the only thing you can't print and you can't inflate. And don't fall for this 3% inflation bullshit. There's no way. First of all, year over year is not how you measure inflation. How come the French didn't do that in 1790? Well, wait, let's measure our inflation by prices year over year. No. We dumped all these French dollars on you and they're worthless now, not prices. So keep that in mind. That's how you measure inflation. It's how many dollars you printed, not year over year. It's what they say, but it's a lie. It's not real. So that's not what's going to happen. So that's where you're at. Questions, comments, anything about this? I'll read the baseball one more time. Atlanta, Washington. Atlanta is 3 units. Washington over 9 is 3 units. Cleveland over 9 is 3 units. Miami over 8. We just don't trust them to score that much. 2 units. Houston over 9, 5 units. KC 3 units. Baltimore 3 units. Seattle under 7.5, 3 units. San Diego over 8, 5 units, and the Yankees tonight over 8, 5 units. The way they've been hitting in Boston, this should be a big thing. So let's take this to the NFL, this little economic talk. There's Mahomes and there's Burrow, and that's it. Aaron Rodgers is near the end, but okay. Justin Herbert's pretty good, and that's it. And you see how limited it is. This is why quarterbacks are making 40, 50 million a year, because it's very limited. Now, a lot of it is the GM doesn't know what he's doing. He won't spot. He misses the Tulane quarterback for Radler from South Carolina and then wonders why Radler sucks. Haven't you been watching Radler the last 4 years at Oklahoma and South Carolina, and you can't come to that conclusion that he sucks? So that's what you have. And that's the point of it, is to understand when it's limited, it's worth more, right? That's why quarterbacks get the value, because there's only a few that are worth it. Paying Trevor Lawrence or Jared Goff, that kind of money, or Lamar, they're out of their fucking minds. Those are not Mahomes and Burrow and Rodgers. These are they're a dime a dozen for Trevor Lawrence and and these guys. JJ McCarthy's a penny a dozen. I mean, he's not limited at all. And that's kind of how I analyze these quarterbacks. How many are there? Cam Rising is great. He's one of a few. But when you get into like JJ McCarthy, then that's why I knock him. He's not anything special. He's certainly not better than Penix or Nix based on looking at what happened last year, looking at them play. Penix and Nix were the best two quarterbacks in Daniels. Where does Drake May come into play and McCarthy? These guys, looking at them, they're not very limited. They're just regular guys. So that's kind of how it is. So you get that too, and we get it with, if you're a guy with a girl, are they limited? Are they a dime a dozen? Are we a dime a dozen? And that's why, so we had our friend who said, I don't give money to girls, like I don't help girls. And I said, well, you're competing with other guys. You're a dime a dozen. So she's going to go to there's another 11 of you she can go to. Why do you think the girl wants to be with you? Partly because there's three things that a girl wants. I can find that. The three things girls want: they want comfort, security, and stability. So if you're not helping them with a little bit of money, they don't feel secure, they don't feel comfort, and then they're wondering about the stability. So that's what you got to realize. That's why you help the girl if you want the girl. If you don't want the girl, you don't help her. I get it. But and some girls don't want the help, but that's why girls want money, because they're looking for security and comfort, and money gives them security and comfort. So this will be very interesting. Women, when the money goes to zero, then we'll see what gold and silver really buy, because the women will freak out without the comfort and security of the money, and they're probably not taught or would be taught in gold and silver. I mean, because they're not usually good in finance anyway. Yeah, I know you get your girls who are good in it, great, but most guys aren't either. Most guys don't know finance or economics. You can see on YouTube, there's only Egon and Mark McGuire, and there's only two guys that actually understand it. So I'm sure there's not a lot of women I see who understand it. For sure not. That Kathy Wood's clueless, and Lynette Zhang is clueless. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's a Keynesian. So that's what you must understand. So most aren't, and then that's what you get with it. So be careful with that. But everything becomes supply and demand, and why does Daria like me? She feels safe with me. I help her. She feels secure with me. So that's the point. Same thing with Jenna. I'm her security blanket. I need money for food. Okay, here's a little bit of money. Go eat. If she didn't have me, she'd look for some other guy, or I don't know what she would do. It would be really hard for her. But as long as I'm there to help her, and I don't mind helping, I'm a helper, so I don't mind it. But that's the point. So that's where I'm at. It's all supply and demand. It's all if there's shortage of supply, you're much more valuable. So that's how you must look at it. That's why the dollars are all going out, because there's too many of them and they're not worth anything and nobody trusts them. And when the gold-backed currency comes out from BRICS, are you going to want gold or are you going to want the dollar? After what I just told you, I don't think you want the dollar, but you don't even need to see me. You can go to the Romans, the French in the 1790s, the English, the Germans in the 1920s, on and on and on. Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Argentina today, Greece, Sri Lanka. All these countries are printing their money, and then it's flooded, and then they're worthless. And all you got to do is counterfeit a bunch of whatever you want and dump it. And all of a sudden there's inflation because there's too many dollars. And that's the end of it. So that's what's going on. So anything else? Any questions or comments? Baseball we've talked college football. We've talked gold, we've talked comex, we've taught inflation, which is critical. And that's really what you're never taught is inflation. You think it's prices. So you're not even really taught it properly. Plus why nobody understands it. And the government says, oh, it's year over year prices, and prices went up 3%. We'll get inflation back down, and everybody believes it. No, you won't get everything back down. You can't. Once the genie's out of the bottle and so once the English printed all these French dollars in 1790, well, why didn't the French dump them back out? Because they can't. Once the genie's out of the bottle and you printed all these dollars, it went to zero and they had to burn them in the city. They couldn't reverse the inflation. And that's what I'm saying. Once you print it, you can't reverse it. You're fucked. Now that we're not petrodollar, all that dollars coming back, it's all over. So keep that in mind. Just go buy as much gold and silver as you can. And stop worrying that it's not a stock. It's not a stock. It's not going to act the way Apple and Amazon do, which are being manipulated anyway. They're not at real prices. They're just being dumped on and say, hey, look at our stock market. It's at, like Trump did, oh, the stock market hit 30,000 today. That's not good. It's good if it's real, if it's production, but not if you're printing money and dumping it in like he was doing, and now that. So keep that in mind. Get prepared to move to a BRICS country. I really think that's our only out. Unless we come out with gold-backed currency, our money's going to be worthless. And if the money's worthless, you don't have a country and you don't have an economy. Unless you can speak Chinese or Russian, you're fucked. So this is what I'm kind of planning. I got to see what happens. But when the BRICS gold comes out in September, October, I have to take a trip to St. Pete and, get some gold-backed currency. And, why are they got so much gold? Why does China have 70,000 tons now? I mean, if it's no good, why do they keep buying it, as does Russia? Because they know that's where the value. See, the U.S. is fighting it because they don't have gold. They don't want the price to go up because they know that they got something that's worth a lot. And, but the U.S., why the U.S. doesn't buy in Canada and England it's just stupidity. It's George Soros running those countries. Or China, I guess, whoever, same thing. But the person in charge is in the dark too, not understanding gold and not understanding the dollars. We got $1 million, we're fine. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to be sad about is the people who have their money in the bank, $500,000, $600,000, $800,000, and it's monopoly money. It's all going to be worth zero, and they're all going to be scratching their head going, fuck. I'm broke. I had all this money. Now I'm broke. I should have listened to the professor, especially the ones at the swim. All right. I am tired. I haven't eaten since a day and a half ago. I ate Friday. I didn't eat yesterday. I think I had dinner about 6. I don't remember. I had a salad with tuna on it. I made a roast Friday night because it was sitting in the fridge a little too long. So I've yet to eat that. I go to Chinese. This is how psychic I am. I go to Chinese, but because it's July 4th, they should be open because it's Saturday. And I go, I bet you these guys are closed. And I visualize it was closed. And as I'm driving there, I see the visualization. When I get there, it's closed. Because these guys, for some reason, on some holidays, they just close for the week. I'm glad you're doing so well that you don't need to be there. But I know if I would have went to my rib place, he'd have been open. They might close the holiday, but they probably just close early. They don't actually shut down. The Chinese apparently are doing so well they don't need business probably Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever. They're normally closed Sunday. But I had that vision. So I was going to get Chinese and eat it tonight for dinner with the roast, but apparently I'm not. So I'm pretty hungry right now, but I want to do it. I need to clean myself. I need to my feet, it's the same thing. Then I'll start eating. I'll have a donut or something, and then I get gout in my knee and gout in my feet, and the whole thing. It's just insanity. So I'm really trying to clean myself out and just, I want to really do a 3-day fast, but there's no way I'll make it. I'm not prepared for it. So I'll eat dinner about 4:30, and that'll be 46-hour fast, which is fine. I need my photography guys cleaning my house, cleaning my insides. So I'm letting them clean. Anything else? College football, Ohio State and Georgia, probably the best two teams. Will USC's defense get better? Utah is top 5 team also with Cam Rising. He is back. Oregon should be very strong. It's a hell of a 5. Utah and Oregon Utah is now in the Big 12, and Oregon's now in the Big 10. So it's Oregon and Ohio State. It's going to be a nasty game. Tease the dog in that game. And then you got that's a good over, I think, Ohio State and Oregon. And then you've got we'll see how Washington is. Alabama with the Boer. He's a great coach. TCU should be better with they showed you their worth getting in the championship game. Then last year they lost a lot of players, so they regrouped this year. They should be fairly good. Texas, they don't have the defense. Oklahoma, they're not there. Houston will be a surprise team. The Big Ten, it'll be Ohio State and Oregon. We'll see how Washington does. I think they got the Arizona coach, so they could be okay. He's a good coach. And then we'll have to see Michigan. Michigan State should be better. Penn State, they're always a bridesmaid. I don't think they can beat West Virginia week 1. What else? There's no way Miami's going to be any good. Florida State needs a quarterback. Otherwise, love the coach, love the defense. They'll be an under team, I think. And then Clemson, they're just quarterback's not good enough. I'm not sure how good their defense is. They'll probably get shut out by Georgia. But we know Georgia's great. Florida, no. Kentucky, no. Tennessee, no. Alabama. Auburn will be a little better. Ole Miss, same offensive team. Old Mississippi State will be nothing. That's pretty much Appalachian State in the Sun Belt, and Miami of Ohio and Toledo in the MAC. Same old. But I'm loving Michigan. They get Fresno State and Texas, and then they get to the Ohio State, and I think they play at Washington or something. So this I'll be glad to see them. I don't like them because A, they cheated, and B, their schedule was so weak, and they make the playoff. It's disgusting. They didn't play anybody. They played a weak Ohio State team, was it? And they get to the playoff, and then Georgia loses to Alabama and doesn't get in. Are you fucking kidding me? That's just retarded. So I'm looking for revenge this year. But Michigan, they're all gone. Everybody left. And this new coach, who the hell knows? I doubt he'll be anywhere near what Harbaugh was. And their defense, I don't know. New quarterback. I mean, Texas, I think, is going to beat them pretty good. Texas beat Alabama last year. So Texas, no surprise. We're teasing Texas against Michigan getting 7 or so. Anyway, so that's about it. Off to the pool, and then I'm going to eat dinner. Very much looking forward to eating dinner. All right. Have a good day. www.teaserking.com. The passwords are set. The picks are set. I just got to change the bowl which is 4 weeks of college, should be 200, not 100. And I'm going to add classes. So if you want my rundown, I gave you a normal rundown of college, but in the class, I'll go through the game and give you the pick. So you basically have all the picks for all the college, but that's a class thing. So that'll probably be 25 a week for college and 25 a week for the pro to give you the actual picks, or you can buy them online. It's the same thing. Anyway, we will see about that, and off we go. So enjoy your day, and I hope you had a happy 4th. And that's it, www.teaserking.com. Watch out for that inflation. Buy your gold and silver as much as you can eat. All right, take care, everybody. Have a great day.